On Plato's political theory, we'll begin by noting that it is only through the state that the good life is possible. Politics is a necessary component of a life well lived. Man is a social animal, and therefore community and government are unavoidable. The existence of government is therefore not something that needs to be explained as it does for many modern thinkers. In Republic, Plato examines the nature of justice. Justice in the state is the same thing as in the individual. It is a balance and proper relationship of the parts with reason ruling. The purpose of the state is to serve the wants of men. The original purpose of the state is economic, so naturally it will be composed of laborers and artisans. Plato's ideal state, as described in Republic, begins from the need to protect the state from external threats and to undertake wars of aggression, typically for more land. There will have to be, therefore, a special warrior class. These are the guardians. The guardians will be both spirited and philosophical, which is to say they will possess the virtue of courage, the virtue of those ruled by spirit, and the virtues of wisdom and justice, the virtues of people ruled by reason. They must be educated by the state lest they become an internal threat, however. And because of this, the purpose of the state becomes not only economic, but educational as well. The state exists to promote happiness among its citizens, and to do that it must promote the good life. In order to promote the good life, the state must educate the citizens to what is true, virtuous, and good. Thus, the educators cannot be just anyone, but must be those who know the true, the virtuous, and the good, namely philosophers. And it's worth emphasizing again that the political authority of the philosophers comes from the educational function of the state. In order to maintain order in the souls of its citizens, the state is justified in censoring art and music, so epic and tragic poetry, as well as music that encourages immorality, will be restricted. The rulers of the state are to be chosen from among the class of guardians. These will be the true guardians, the others will be auxiliaries. Auxiliaries will possess no private property, lest they become tyrants, and they will live communally. Justice in the state will be when each class serves its proper role and function and does not interfere with the other classes. Regarding women, Plato is famously progressive. He holds that they should be allowed the same roles in the state as men, including roles in ruling and in warfare. Marriage and sex relations will be arranged by the state, and wives and children will be held in common, at least among the ruling elite. The artisan class will continue to possess private property and live normal family lives. The ideal state, says Plato, can only be approximated, but in order to do this, the ruler must have knowledge of what is true and good, and so power should be placed in the hands of the philosopher king, one who possesses knowledge of the truth because he has access to the forms. This produces the best and happiest state. In the Statesman, Plato tells us that among well-ordered governments, rulership by one individual is better than by several, but rulership by several is still better than the rule of the many. And among poorly ordered governments, the reverse is true. That is, rule by the many is better than that by the few, which is still better than that by the one. Therefore, democracy is the worst of lawful governments, but the best of lawless ones. It is unable to do either great good or great harm. We might say that democracy by its very nature tends towards mediocrity. In the laws, Plato tells us, the state must be a true polity, that is, it must not be divided by parties or factions, since this would make justice impossible. And the state does not exist for any one class, but rather so that the citizens can live a good life. In other words, the state aims at the common good. And the rulers must be subject to the laws like the rest of the citizens. And here, in the laws, Plato is less idealistic than in the Republic. He is describing a second-best city, in which the non-philosophers are fully involved in political decision-making, land is privately owned, and the family remains the medium in which future generations are produced. Private life, however, is still heavily regulated, poetry is censored, etc.